Good morning. It is Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. This is your deep dive daily briefing. I am your anchor, delivering a comprehensive analysis of the pivotal events that have defined the last 12 hours. We begin our broadcast on the world stage, where the strategic landscape of the Middle East has reached a moment of maximum tension. Today, April 21st, marks the official expiration of the two-week ceasefire between the United States and Iran. Overnight, diplomatic efforts in Pakistan reached a fever pitch as regional mediators scrambled to broker a second round of talks before the clock ran out. Despite these efforts, the overall atmosphere remains somber, with both Washington and Tehran maintaining rigid preconditions. President Donald Trump has ordered United States negotiators to remain in Islamabad, yet the persistent naval blockade of Iranian ports continues to be the primary point of contention. As the deadline passes, military observers report a significant hardening of littoral defenses along the Persian Gulf, raising fears that the expiration of the truce could lead to an immediate resumption of kinetic operations in one of the world's most sensitive corridors.
Transitioning from the front lines of diplomacy to the broader global economy, the International Monetary Fund has issued a sobering update to its world economic outlook. Citing the pervasive shadow of the Middle East conflict, the IMF has revised its global growth projection for 2026 down to 3.1%. The report emphasizes that while global activity showed resilience last year, the outbreak of war and the subsequent weaponization of maritime choke points are now testing the limits of that stability. Economists warn that headline inflation is projected to rise modestly this year, driven largely by the massive disruption to energy supplies. The fund also highlighted a growing fiscal burden, noting that military outlays are rising by an average of 2.7 percentage points of GDP globally, a trend that risks crowding out essential social spending and weakening long-term fiscal sustainability.
In the realm of finance, all eyes are on the credit markets and the Federal Reserve as they process a worsening outlook for the stock market and interest rates. This morning, investor attention is focused on the confirmation hearing for Kevin Warsh, who is being considered as the next chair of the Federal Reserve. This hearing comes at a critical juncture, as updated inflation forecasts suggest that the Federal Reserve may be forced to maintain a restrictive stance for longer than previously anticipated. The spike in energy costs, with national gas prices in the United States jumping over 30% since the start of the conflict, has fundamentally altered the path for rate cuts. Institutional investors are increasingly concerned that the current bounce-back in equities, fueled by hopes of a quick resolution to the war, may prove fleeting if energy prices remain at their current historic highs.
Turning our attention to the technology sector, the focus has shifted toward the integration of real-time artificial intelligence at the industrial edge. In a significant industry move, Lattice Semiconductor has announced a collaboration with Texas Instruments to scale edge AI systems for robotics and advanced industrial applications. This partnership utilizes NVIDIA Holoscan technology to enable synchronized, low-latency sensor fusion, which is seen as a critical step in making autonomous systems more reliable in complex environments. However, the broader tech landscape remains haunted by the productivity lag noted in recent economic reports. While investment in AI infrastructure remains at record levels, the IMF suggests that productivity gains are currently arriving too slowly to offset the massive geopolitical and energy shocks currently rippling through the global system.
Finally, we look at the logistics and supply chain networks that serve as the vital arteries of global commerce, which are currently facing a permanent structural rewiring. The total shutdown of the Strait of Hormuz remains the single most significant disruption to modern energy security, with approximately 21% of global petroleum liquids normally transiting this narrow waterway. The de facto blockade has forced a radical reconfiguration of trade patterns. Recent customs data from China highlights the magnitude of this crisis, showing a 90% year-over-year drop in exports to Iran and a 57% decline in exports to the broader Gulf region during the peak of the restrictions. As shipping companies accept the Cape of Good Hope as a semi-permanent route, the industry is moving toward a new reality, defined by regional inventory buffers and the total abandonment of the low-cost, just-in-time models that define the previous era of globalization. That concludes our global briefing for today. Thank you for joining us.